Okay, so in this section, we are going to finally start rendering out our creature. So I picked a pose that I like. I just need to start taking some high-res still images of the rock rubber. Because he's already poly-painted and he's lit so well, I'm only going to grab about maybe 3 or 4 render passes on the creature. And what we're going to do is we're going to take those 4 material passes and we're going to bring them into Photoshop and we're going to composite them while adding some effects and some lighting to enhance the image. So to begin, I'm just going to go into Render. This is the highest preset right now, 1920 by 1018. It's at 350 dpi. It's not bad. I want to go a little higher. If you look at the print size, this is only 5 inches. I want to go to, let's go to 6. And that should do it. 6 by, let's get it a little bigger. Alright, yeah, let's do this. So it's almost 7 inches by, let's see what we have here, by 3. At 350 dpi, that's not bad. And it's definitely enough to work on in Photoshop. I can adjust the size of the canvas later, but that's a good size. So I'm going to hit Render, and let's make sure we're going to the right folder. So you can always hit your little icon here and designate a folder to put your renders in. And I'm just going to hit Render. So you can see the preview is a bit larger than the space given to me by Camtasia. So this is going to be a big enough image to really work with in Photoshop. This image might take about 10 minutes to render, and so I'm just going to speed this up right now. Alright, so now that that's done rendering, here's the render. You can see it's so large it doesn't quite fit in the frame here. I'm just going to scale this down a bit, open it up in preview. And we've got a lot of resolution here. Let's zoom in. Not bad. For a full body illustration, that's all I really need. So I'm going to do a few other render passes. I'm probably going to do another version of the character where the specularity is a bit lower, just so I can put one on top of the other and make certain areas of the creature matte really quickly. So let's get back into the render, and I want to create masks for the rock rubber so that I can more easily isolate the background, the character, and the rocks when I need to in Photoshop. So I'm going to just drag and drop some materials onto the piece. Let's go to Tomb, and here we have some really flat colors that we can play with. And I'm going to go into the properties. I'm going to go to Edit Material, and I'm going to turn this into an emissive material. You can see the lines go away. Right-click, Edit Material. Let's go to Emissive again, and get rid of these lines. And that's good. Now this will render very quickly, and this will be my mask. When you're doing multiple renders on a creature, or anything in Keyshot, and you want to composite everything, you're going to want to make sure that the camera is locked. And so that's just the little icon next to 10. Now I've also saved my camera position, so I can go from 11, 12, back to 10, and everything will just line up. But just in case, you want to lock your image down. So you can see I can't rotate anything right now. The picture plane is locked, and when you're stacking one image on top of the other in Photoshop, it's really important that they line up, and this will guarantee that, especially if you also render each frame in the same resolution. So I'm going to hit render again. This should be nice and fast in comparison. Done. Now another thing I want to render out, a material that I use for highlights on my creatures. So I'm going to go into cloth and leather, and this is something I came up with when working in Zbrush. I would use the same process of doing several render passes and stacking them one on top of the other in Photoshop and compositing them together. There was a material that was really good at just adding highlights to all of the edges, and I find in Keyshot the velvet material is really good for that. And so we're going to go into scene because I want the entire model to be in the same material, and I'm going to take my velvet black and I'm just going to drag it up to model here, and that'll take a second. There we go. So this really shows what the lighting is doing in the model, but I want to crush the values a bit more. So I'm going to edit the material, and I'm going to dial back the roughness of the velvet, the backscatter. You can see the core is getting much darker here, and I'm going to increase the edginess, and it's going to be nice and crisp. It's almost like a white outline. Essentially, it's just a rim light that can be thrown back on top of the model using either a lighten layer or a screen layer. I can add this material to the image, and everything that's black will go away, just leaving this highlighted area. So it looks very much like a rim light. It's a great way to accent areas that are hidden in shadow and to reveal more of the design while maintaining the dramatic lighting. So I'm just going to hit render again. Let's go back over here, render, and this also takes much less time than human skin. You can see it's just chipping away at it. For my final render pass, as I mentioned before, I want to get a render of the creature with lower specularities throughout the design. Right now he's got a lot of white hot highlights, and I want to be able to control that to determine what areas of the creature are matte and what areas are shiny and wet. And so I'm going to go to Edit Material, and I'm going to just take my specularity slider down. So you'll notice as soon as it catches up that my highlights are drastically cut down. Let's bump it up just a little bit more. And I'm going to hit render again, and this will be the final render before we start compositing in Photoshop. I've also taken the time to do a few other angles on the creature, a close-up of the head where I am repeating this exact same process, and I'll show them in the next section.